everybody. As you may have gathered, this is not the official start yet of our program. It's just a hello to some of our call it guest artists, if you like. They're obviously all former students of ours, and some of them current students doing their doctorates. So they'll be sharing some deeper insights with their experience, their learning experience, and how they've experienced the MBA journey with us at the Nelson Mandela University Business School. So we're looking forward to hearing their insights. And very often you find that people don't want to talk to the old professor, but they'll rather talk to people who are in the firing line, who've actually been through the process, and you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, how they've experienced their journeys. I'm going to keep quiet for the time being and just wait for Dr. Jooste to officially kickstart our process, which shouldn't be much longer. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Prof. POISAT, and thank you to everyone who's joined us. My name is Caroline. I think some of you have spoken to me before, but we are obviously from the Graduate School of Business, and this is our information session specifically for our postgraduate diploma in business administration and also our master's in business administration. So as you would have noted, Prof. Paul POISAT, who introduced himself now, he is our leadership and HR thought leader at the business school. So he is a professor with the business school, and for those of you who will be accepted onto the MBA program, he will be there for your leadership modules and also for your people management modules. So I will then give it over to Prof. POISAT, and also just from my side, a thank you to our alumni, Cordine and Brent, who will be speaking as part of this session as well. So please feel free to message me in the chats if you've got any questions, or if there's a general question you need to ask, you can do that in the chat, and then Charlene, who's also in this meeting from my office, and also myself will answer you if you've got anything that you would need to ask us.
Thank you, Colleen. Yeah, just to reiterate for everybody, a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening in this evening's session. The session is really about yourselves, so please ask the questions. And again, to reiterate that Dr. Jooste, Carleen Jooste, and Mrs. Charlene Castellani is available to answer questions in the chat box if there's anything specific that you'd like to ask. However, I will also provide you with opportunity during the session to ask any questions that you may have relating to the program, perhaps also just the pace of the program, perhaps surrounding distance learning, so to speak. So please, whatever is an issue with you, or you would like to find out, you're more than welcome to ask questions surrounding it, and we'll cover it as best as we can. So without any further ado, we've had the brief introductions. So part of the session this evening, I'm going to be sharing some just some background on our business school that you will be joining and that you will be part of. It's a huge investment that you make in your development, both in time and in money, financially. So it's very important that you associate with the business school of your choice, and to see whether the business school can deliver on what your expectations are, not only in terms of learning and growth and development, but also in terms of future prospects. And we'll be sharing with you our approach, how to get you there. We will also be sharing with you 1 or 2 success stories, and we will also be sharing with you some of the contents of our program, and also be covering, obviously, people who are studying, let's say, at home base in Port Elizabeth, but then also if there are people from further afield, how that will affect you working what we refer to as block release, or as we've come to know in the last 2 years under COVID conditions, doing things online. And that is applied to everybody, both in Port Elizabeth based as well as elsewhere in South Africa. So without any further ado, I'm going to be starting to share my screen, and I'm going to be asking or sharing some information about the business school, just our structure very briefly, and then some of our key features as far as the business school is concerned. And then I'm going to be asking our alumni, both Claudine and Brent, to talk about their experiences, their learning experiences, and possibly even Claudine, I think, has been involved in both the PDBA, the MBA, and the MBA, of course, and then her experiences in doing that. And Brent has done, I think, a block studies and then converted to full-time studies, if you like, or in Port Elizabeth, completed his MBA with us, and then he's kicked on to the DBA. So you can share some of his experiences on that as well. So once again, thank you to you as well for joining us. So without any further ado, I'm going to be going into my presentation. And I'll be stopping after one or two sections and be asking for some comments. Can I maybe just see that that you can see what's on my screen? Is it showing on your screens? If I can maybe just see with a show of hands, or if you find that I see that Brent and Claudine has put up a thumb, they can see, so that my screen is being shared on your side. I'm going to share the full screen. Right. So without any further ado, let's proceed into our presentation. So the business school, the Nelson Mandela University Business School, has a footprint that spreads over South Africa, and we're not just based, obviously home base is Port Elizabeth. So for those people who are elsewhere in the country, getting a bit of a signal here that my internet connection might be a bit unstable. I see there's a hand from Pride Causa. You're welcome. You're welcome to comment. Is there an? You still muted, Pride?
Sorry. Yes, I'm still muted. I was raising my hand to show you can see the screen.
Okay, so you're happy? The screen is sharing on your side. Okay, excellent. Thanks, Brad. Right. So just from the business school footprint perspective, so when we talk about block release, we are talking about everybody outside the Port Elizabeth municipal boundaries. And we're talking about people who would find themselves in Cape Town, East London, Durban, or Gauteng, which means that if you do or are planning within the next year or two to move anywhere, then those are the centers that you need to move to, preferably if you want to continue seamlessly with your PDBA or MBA program. So in all those centers, you'll find that we'll be able to service you. And under normal circumstances, when I say normal, non-COVID circumstances, our delivery method there follows a somewhat different methodology to that what people will experience in Port Elizabeth. And I'll be sharing those differences with you. At this current point in time and under COVID conditions, everything is the same for everybody, whether you're in Gauteng, whether you're in Durban or in Port Elizabeth. You will be receiving lectures during approximately 3 lectures per week, ranging from about 5:30 till about 8:30 at night, depending on the lecturer and depending on the amount covered within that particular evening. So for now, just to realize that for people outside our borders, you have the same content, you have the same amount of contact hours that you will have with your lecturers for the various modules, whether it's PDBA or for the MBA stream. Just as far as the structure of the business school is concerned, we have 2 legs, and it's basically very typical of a business school type structure. We have an executive education section, which covers our short learning programs, and obviously where we would get involved in providing programs for companies, for institutions, covering the whole suite of, call it, business education to those companies. And then on the other leg, and this is the leg that you would be joining if you joined one of our formal programs, on the graduate school, So this is the graduate school with a specific focus in obviously advanced or postgraduate business education. And we have 3 primary programs that we're responsible for, or that falls under the banner of the graduate school. That's the PDBA, the Postgraduate Diploma in Business Administration, the Masters in Business Administration, and of course we now call it the ProDBA. As of next year, 2022, people who have qualified with an MBA will be able to move into the ProDBA with obviously a bit of a selection criteria being applied there as well. But the ProDBA is then slightly different from the current DBA that we're offering, in that the first year is slightly different. But that's a topic for another day. But what is important is that once you've achieved the MBA, you can progress or promote into your ProDBA, which will kickstart in 2022. That is the ProDBA. So that's just as far as our basic structure is concerned at the business school. So what is our philosophy? What are our key strong points, if you like? We like to believe that we are focused on service excellence, and that excellence is in serving our clients or customers, if you like, in this case, our students. And I'll be elaborating on that in a short way. Engagement with commitment to business community, facilitation of best learning experiences, and then development of holistic leaders. So we have a very strong leadership development focus. So if one had to ask, so what is the MBA at the University of Nelson Mandela University Business School focuses on? By and large, it's development of holistic leaders. So in other words, we are focused on the total person, developing the total person for promoting in the business environment, higher level and senior level business involvement. So just unpacking these areas in a little bit more detail, and I'm going to be asking Claudine and Brent to come in on the facilitation of the best learning experiences, maybe just to talk about how they experience the methodology that we use in class, etc. Just in terms of some of the photographs that you can experience here, perhaps for those of you not familiar with with our facility in Port Elizabeth, on the right-hand side of the photograph there, you'll see some of our students in the auditorium. So that's one of our larger, the photograph is cut off, so you have a flank still on the left and on the right side. So you're seeing the center aisle of the auditorium. And that is where most of the fairly large lectures would be held. We obviously have other lecture venues as well, which you can see on the left-hand side. And at the same time there, let me also share with you that those are some of our industry experts, especially the one in the foreground, industry expert, and that was on economics that was being covered there. It's also a feature of our presentations that you'll find is to dovetail very closely with the business community, and on particular modules to bring in industry experts to talk on the latest developments and some of the crucial learning experiences that we can derive from industry in particular fields. Just moving on with service excellence, some of you, and you've all met Dr. Jooste already, Caroline, and you've also heard me refer to Charlene. They are the ladies who are responsible for obviously recruitment and taking us further into registration process. They run what we refer to as our relationship office, and very often the first port of call for those of you making contact with the business school will be in contact with either one of these ladies. They will also take you through the registration process, help you with the administration around there. And then we have a number of dedicated ladies that look specifically after, call it the administration of the academic side of the process. Mrs. Van Wyk, that we commonly refer to, or affectionately refer to as the mother of the MBA, And then we also have Jessica Ehlers, who has a look at the PDBA side specifically. So some dedicated staff to take care of the administration, and obviously contact with students and prospective students. So having said that, our institution, as you may realize, I think our student numbers are in the vicinity of 25,000. So when we talk about a one-stop service and minimum bureaucracy, we're not just exposing you to the rest of the university, but you can talk to the business school specifically. And I think this is where we say that we try and keep the bureaucracy to a minimum, and at the same time also provide a bit of a one-stop service where you're talking to people dedicated to the business school, and you're not a number within the rest of the university disappearing into the 25,000 others that are in the system. I spoke about the dedicated administrative and academic staff, and a key aspect for us, which I mentioned earlier on, is the holistic development of our students. We take great pride in the achievements of our students, and there are quite a number of stories that I can tell you around this of people that have gone on to do great things. I've had the privilege of promoting or supervising a number of these students. And let me also say, Claudine is another one of those students that was top student in her year, top master's student in the university. I had the privilege of also promoting a similar student like that, and got sought after, incredibly headhunted internationally by top companies. And there are many others that I can cite, not just top of the pop students, but also other people who have gone through the program, highly successful, and have done extremely well for themselves, not only in their own careers, in their own companies, but also have left their companies, have done great things, not only within the borders of our country, but have also gone into major corporations and some of the businesses in Africa and in the Africa Pacific Rim countries, etc. So have kicked on to do good things and great things within their companies. We also refer to financial flexibility, and with financial flexibility, there is a bit of a payment plan. So it's not just one bulk payment, but one can stagger it off over a number of months as far as that payment capability is concerned, and I'll be sharing that with you when we talk about the costs of the program towards the end of the presentation. I'm just going to soldier on a little bit further and just go to our next aspect. And I know that just warning Claudine and Brent that we're coming up to your section very shortly. But overall, as far as our engagement with our community and the business community is concerned, we are, especially in the Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth and wider surrounding areas, we are the provider of choice. And our market share is exceptionally high, as one would expect, within the Eastern Cape. And then, of course, we do a fair amount of connection, networking with our business community in particular. And obviously that works both ways. We connect with some of the top industry experts, not only in our local communities, but also in the wider business community from elsewhere in our countries and overseas. And we like to bring those people into the classroom. And we like to expose our students to the latest thinking, thought leaders, as well as the industry experts, to bring that flavor into the classroom. We also dovetail and complement it with strategic conversations, what we call strategic conversations on particularly difficult issues. We would be looking at training and executive education from the other side, wing of the business school, various community projects, and then of course conferences, conference attendance, etc. We also encourage some of our MBA students to write papers for conferences and deliver papers there based on the business projects that they complete in their final year within the MBA studies. And we've had a number of very successful conference papers delivered by our MBA students. We are also advised by an advisory board, and that is another way of keeping up to date with what we teach, especially in the very fast-moving business world introduced by the latest high-tech advances that we have, smart technologies and so forth. It's imperative that that we revise and we review not only our curriculum from time to time, but that we also stay abreast of latest developments. So we're very sensitive to that fact. We've reached the area of learning experience, and also just to break the monotony of my voice, if I can maybe ask either one of our guest artists, either Claudine or Brent, if you'd like to comment at this stage, if you feel comfortable commenting on this, any one of these, you're welcome to do so.
Hi, Prof. I am happy to say that, well, you can also say what you would like us to comment on, but from just the learning experience, for me, I'm sure you'll get to our story, but it was such an incredible experience. Everything from starting PDBA to MBA, the support, the guidance, the one-on-one experiences. I was also fortunate enough to do the Germany and Poland tour in my final year, actually with Dr. Yerster and some of the other professors, and it was just overall a life-changing experience for me. Yes.
Thanks, Claudine. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to ask you maybe a little bit later to talk about the German experience, a little bit more detail, but thank you for sharing that. Brent, is there anything from your side that you'd like to share?
Yes, good afternoon again. Definitely, just in terms of looking at the academic rigor, and I'd like to reflect back on that leadership and the development of the holistic leader. I can happily say and honestly say I started my MBA career in 2014, and I joined as a manager then. And by the time I graduated I graduated as a leader. I can't say I've left because I enjoyed my experience that much that I encouraged my wife to join the PDBA. She then kicked on to do the MBA and graduated last year. So we enjoyed our experience, and all while being married. And I'd like to cast a blanket on that to say that the MBA is a divorce course. I'd like to nonsense that because it's definitely something that drew us closer together, because we were developing a leadership brand, and it manifested greatly in our 2 kids that we've got as well. But the age gap could say a lot as well. It's not a divorce course, and it encouraged the family growth because the kids are only 7 and 8 years old. So successfully, mom and dad graduating at the Nelson Mandela Business School through the program, because we were entrenched in this leadership program that we were engaged with. And it offers not just a regurgitation of theory, but it allows one to engage and in the application of that theory. And it's thoroughly enjoyable. And the manner in which it is delivered is not only delivered from industry experts, as Prof. POISAT has alluded to, but also our academic staff and the academic team is world-class. So thanks from my side. And I'm sure I'd like to share some more insights a little later as well.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you for that. The check is in the mail. Yeah, thanks for those insights. I had the privilege of supervising both Brent and his wife. I won't say who did better, but might be a sensitive subject. But thanks for sharing those. Thanks for sharing those insights. Can I maybe just ask at this juncture? Sorry, I can't see hands at this point in time. Is there anything from the floor, or anything from any of the rest of the people in the session here that'd like to ask anything about our learning experience? We didn't go into much detail now in terms of how we do it with case studies and obviously assignments, group work, and so forth. But let me also just say that there's quite a big emphasis on team dynamics, quite a big emphasis on syndicate work, which is typical for postgraduate studies in business. And that is a feature or a key feature of one of our methodologies as well. As I've said earlier on, what it means with holistic development is that we're interested in you advancing yourself, your growth, call it emotional intelligence, call it your overall experience. We want you to be the best kind of person that you can be when you leave the program. I always say to people, and they think it's very strange, that if you leave at the end of the program and you're the same person to what you entered, you've wasted your money. And so that is where we place the emphasis, is that we want you to grow. We want you to excel in what you're doing and be better at it, and be better off for it at the end. But it is not primarily just to get the next higher paycheck. It's about the overall being that we're interested in, and then the overall paycheck will increase as you progress. So that's really what we're after. So a lot in the leadership side, and I mustn't go off on a tangent here, but a lot of what we do on the leadership side is to hone your skills, sharpen those skills and competencies in that field. And that is what we're after in our program. So again, Claudine has also alluded to the fact that there's an international component as well, an overseas component, and we're going to be getting to that, and I'm going to ask her to share some more on that when we get to that stage. For now, thanks very much. I haven't seen any hands at this stage from any of the other people in the room, any of you that have joined us. So I'm going to soldier on at this stage. Sasha, you're welcome. I see a hand there.
Yeah, no, I just thought I'd just also take the opportunity just to hinge or leverage off what both Brent and Claudine just stated, just from my experience as a student at the business school. And
Sasha,
what
can we see your video for a moment?
No, Prof, not actually. No,
So
unfortunately
okay.
not. Unfortunately not.
Okay.
So in terms of the practical relevance and the academic rigor, so one example is on the MBA, there's an elective called Lean Management. And there's an interplay between, for example, analytical and critical thinking against the application and integration in terms of the practical relevance as a theme. So right. Back then, there was a Prof called Peterson who did lean management, and he actually employed experiential learning. So we did a lot of group work using Lego learning. So he always kept up to date in terms of best practice, and that's what he employed. And that's generally what our GS, when I say GS, is our graduate staff, graduate academic staff, employs in the classroom. So your brain is naturally activated. There's a lot of synergy. And I just thought I would like to share that because that was a key learning for me as a student at the business school.
Thanks, Sasha. Thanks for that one. I recall the Lego. He once dropped all his Lego blocks, and I had to help him pick up all of that on his way to the office. So, but thanks for sharing those.
And Prof, if I could maybe also just come in there quickly. Sorry to interject. But just to leverage on the group work and the synergies that you find. What we found was that you placed in a very pragmatic and real world example of what you'd find in the workplace as a manager or a leader or a colleague working in a dynamic work group. Right. The group work and the syndicate groups enables you to engage with someone from a finance background that works in the healthcare sector, or someone that's a leader in the maritime industry that is in charge of bargaining unit employees, someone that is a doctor, a medical doctor as an example, and someone that's an IT wizard. And what it enables you is to find those synergies and to attend to answer the assignment questions, and you will have your disagreements just like in the working environment. But what it then teaches you is how to resolve those disagreements.
Right.
And that leadership practice then comes through in the applied theory sense again. And that's what we also found as a value add in terms of the service offering. And it was, and yes, you will have your pick of maybe going down the road to looking at other institutes that offer the business, the MBA or the PDBA program. But to hands down, the experience that you get, and has been referenced in some of the articles that's been written about the Nelson Mandela Business School, you'll find that favoritism in terms of the language which comes out is the essence of the business school that leverages the holistic leader and that capabilities and expert knowledge that is required. And especially it has been found a favorable attribute to have, especially in this COVID-19 time that we've had.
Right.
And everyone is looking to what's the leaders doing, what's the leaders saying, what's the leaders mentality and approach in terms of resolving management issues, organizational sustainability issues. So the flavor and equipping yourself with the tools of becoming a better version of yourself and a better leader, you won't find a better package and service offering than that we offer at the Nelson Mandela Business School. Thank you, Prof.
Thanks,
I'll
Brent.
actually just add here one thing. Prof. POISAT, you may not know this, but you are the lecturer that I quote actually on a daily basis with Peter Drucker, who said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." It is probably a quote that I use every single day when I get told strategy, and leadership was really the one thing that we are all carrying with us.
Yeah, it's I mustn't go down that road, Claudine. We could go into a lecture here. You've triggered something. It's thanks for reminding me about the Peter Drucker quote. Thanks. Right, thanks, Brent. Thanks for those insights as well surrounding the syndicate teams and also how they're structured. A very important thing to also note when I said very loosely at the outset of the presentation that you need to decide about your time and your energy that you're going to plow into finding a school to take you to the next level within your career progression, next level of leadership, so to speak. And one of the important things is also the networking. And I think this is what Brent has also alluded to. The people that you'll be exposed to in your team, your syndicate team, will come and we try and arrange or put the teams together that you are from different qualifications, that we'll try and combine a finance person with an IT person, with a HR person, with a medical practitioner, lawyer, whatever the case might be. And to give you the wealth of experience that from the different fields, whether it's from banking, whether it's from retail, whether it's from marine science, or whatever the case might be. Right, so just as far as that is concerned, going on to possibly call it bragging rights, if you like. So if we had to brag about our business school, some of the things that we're very proud of is our accreditation that we have. Our big one is AMBER. The AMBER accreditation is for the our MBA in particular, which is an international European accreditation. So it gives you, I almost want to say, it reminds me of the Red Bull ad, it gives you wings. So this then also gives credibility to the qualification on an international level. And it's not only the MBA, but also our DBA that is internationally accredited, and that's through EDAMBER, which is the European Doctoral Programs Association that we're also accredited to. So again, it gives you an opportunity, and there are not too many people or not too many business schools that have the accreditation and present the DBA in South Africa. There's less than a handful of business schools that do that in South Africa. So this is another thing that we're very proud of, and also our accreditation around that. And then of course they're the other accreditations, call it local accreditations, in terms of the Council for Higher Education. And I can't go into that depth, but not every school has that accreditation, and there was a sifting out process in terms of universities who did get Council of Higher Education certification to do the MBA program in particular. So that's those are just some of our accreditations. You'll see there Ed Universal referred to, and I'll be talking about that in some of the follow-up slides. So our Ed Universal ranking, and it's referred to as a PALMS ranking, and we fall into the category of the 3 palms. So if you have a look at the little palm tree there on the left-hand side, you'll notice that there are 3 of the 5 leaves colored in, and your highest ranking is then a 5 palm. Now, the reason why we are 3 palm is not because we're bad. It means that it has to do with how many international students you have in your program. And you need a certain amount of international students, whether that be 50 or 80, to be in your program before you advance to the next palm, which would be the 4 palm or the 5 palm. So you'll see that Stellenbosch and UCT features in the 5 palm category because they have quite a large international cohort of students that also belong and are part of their program. So that's what distinguishes the palms. So in South Africa, we're the 6th ranked business school within South Africa, and we are ranked in the top 200 in the world. Now, that might not sound like a heck of a thing. If you're in the top 200, certainly not if you're a sprinting or a sprint athlete or a swimmer. But if you in business schools, top 200 in the world means there are more than 4,500 business schools, and it means that you're in that top 3 to 5% of business schools within the world. And then, of course, also our building. Those of you who are familiar with our building, it's rated as a green building. And it's one of the only ones that you'll find in South Africa as far as business schools are concerned, and certainly one of the first ones that got a Green Star rating, built rating into it. So quite interesting for those of you who are out of town. When you visit us, you will see why it's like that. Water is being recycled. We obviously have recycling of tanks there. We also have the 5 biomes represented in our quadrant at the center of our building, which is quite interesting. There was plans afoot to also have a vegetable garden on the roof, but costs unfortunately prevented us from building that into the building. I spoke about the Ed Universal Business School rankings, and there you can see us. I cannot believe for the life of me why we can't get past roads. So that is just one of those funnies. I certainly believe that we should be in terms of numbers. We definitely, but I cannot see why that is the case. So that just gives you an idea as to where some of the business schools are ranked. I think the important thing from this slide for me is to have a look at our ranking, have a look at where Nelson Mandela Business School is ranked here, and then have a look at some of the ones in the 2 palms and the 1 palms. And the reason why I'm saying make a memory note of who or the schools that are ranked is when we come to costs. Right at the end of the presentation, I'll be doing a comparison of Nelson Mandela University in terms of costs with other universities, and then you can see how this changes, where our ranking is fairly up to the top half, and then you see in terms of costs, you'll see an inversion where Nelson Mandela does that, and we go to the bottom as far as costs. We don't like to believe that we're cheap. We like to believe that we have value for money. So that's the difference there. All right. So just moving on from that, I spoke a little bit about the building. So bottom right is the outside view of the building from the southeastern side. And then top left, you'll find that is the quadrant that I spoke about. And you'll see that the different plantation or plants that you see visible there are representative of the different biomes that you'll find in the Eastern Cape. There are 5 of them, and you'll see 5 little different plant gatherings or patches there. You'll see some of the recycling tanks available there as well. And then also you'll see right at the top of the roof structure, you'll see some ventilation vents. And those are regulated to regulate the temperature in the building. Then also, just as far as the international tours are concerned, Claudine alluded to this a little bit earlier, and maybe Claudine, I can ask you maybe just to elaborate on that a little bit further. I'm not sure whether you feature on any of these photographs here. You might even. Not sure, maybe it was a different year, but maybe just share with us some of your thoughts, your ideas around that.
No, unfortunately, I don't feature in one of these photos, but Caroline and I still, or Dr. Joost and I still have a couple of photos together from the Berlin trip. It was an absolutely incredible experience. So I was fortunate enough to be an exchange student in Germany when I was at school, so I could luckily speak the language. So when we went back on the 2-week trip, it was amazing to visit some of the businesses, see why they're successful, actually discuss when the Berlin Wall fell, which was only a few months prior to Nelson Mandela being released from prison, and actually looking what the differences were between East and West Germany and versus the South African like business context, and how far they've come and what we have done. And very often in business we go, no, but we're a third world country, we're still developing. And then you visit those places and you actually realize that we're not that far behind. We actually bring a lot of innovation into European countries. And even when they had the influx of refugees, how they looked at countries like South Africa to see how we were successful, and we were able to contribute quite a lot to conversations. So it was an amazing experience.
Excellent. Thanks, Claudine. Thanks also for highlighting the fact, and it's something that that I've also realized being on one of these tours, where our students from South Africa interact with the German students, and obviously the German students are highly internationalized in that you'll have students from various countries all over Europe, Chinese, Indian, perhaps even Spanish, but you'll have a mixture of people there in amongst the Germans. So it provides a very rich experience, cultural experience as well. And time and again, when our students come back from Germany, as you've said, Claudine, quite correctly, is that the feeling is that we don't have to stand back for a developed country and what is being taught and or the interactions that are taking place there. And that we've experienced time and again with various tours overseas. So thanks for alluding to that as well. And it also just tells us that we're somehow on the right track and we're doing some of the right things. So thank you. Also, just some of the people that have been overseas that have actually studied some modules overseas. We also have, under normal conditions, we have, I almost want to say, a bit of an exchange program. I see some of our students here. Dean Hasty went over, enjoyed it so much in Germany. He hasn't come back. He stayed there, got himself a very good job. We're happy to say that the others have come back. In fact, some of them have married German people. However, Yolandi, I think she's back. Grant is back, I think. Yes, so yes, that's another experience that is available to people who can afford the time away, and obviously we arrange for credits of the programs that you do at Reutlingen or any one of the other business schools that we have an association with. So that also is a possibility in the program. It's not very common, but it does happen. I wouldn't say that the majority of people do that, but a small percentage of people who can afford it, both the time off, away from work, etc., can do that. Just as far as Let me just have a look here quickly. Just as far as our faculty is concerned and who we comprise of, we're a fairly small faculty when we talk about only the business school itself. We're 9 full-time faculty. But then again, I think it was also purposefully done that way because we use quite a number of what we refer to as part-time lecturers, so that we can make sure that we also have the latest knowledge workers or knowledge people coming in and expertise that we bring into the program. So instead of having a number of people, larger faculty with specific skills, we can rotate the what we call our part-time lecturers more freely and make sure that when the goalposts change in terms of new businesses, in terms of let's say business intelligence, in terms of smart technologies, that we can rely on the latest experts to come into and feed into our program and deliver the latest material, so to speak. And of course, we also make use of quite a number of visiting professors and overseas visitors to lecture on our program. So who is this program designed for? Who should be looking at this? So both on the PDBA and the MBA, if you're looking to advance your business education, take it to the next level, want to expand a little bit more, perhaps you're stuck in a different or a specific area of expertise, whether it's logistics or marketing or finance or whatever it is, and you want to broaden. So when you want to move up into the organization, it's important that you have a broader perspective with more business function experience and knowledge that you can contribute on a more holistic basis within the organization. And this is what your undergraduate or postgraduate training will teach you, as well as your MBA will teach you. We have specific areas in terms of obviously leadership, entrepreneurial skills, further networking that also comes out of the program, as we mentioned earlier on, which becomes a very important part moving post your qualification, is to keep those networks, to keep those connections with people that you've studied with. So it's a question of who do you know, and do you know people in the right places? And this is one way of extending that. So when you become part of the Nelson Mandela Business School, you're not only connecting with people in Port Elizabeth, but you're connecting with people outside of Port Elizabeth in Cape Town, Gauteng, East London and Durban, and you'll get expertise, you'll get their involvement as well in terms of the MBA or the PDBA cohort. You will be exposed as a big group to one another, and you'll hear experiences from all over our country as well. So just as far as the presentation format is concerned and our teaching methods, so I'm not sure if either you, Brent, or Cordine or Sasha would like to comment on this. You're welcome to do so. Just as far as the groups are concerned, I think, Brent, you've already alluded to that. The types of things that are happening in the group work, the analytical thinking, perhaps some of the assignments, how you found the assignments, perhaps something on that. Cordina, I see you unmuted. Are you happy to comment?
I will tell you, group work was something that was both frustrating and probably one of the biggest areas of development for me. And something I learned was never to raise your voice, but to rather improve your argument. And it has proved quite well in any positions I got thereafter. And I will turn around and say that I still have very close connections. And actually, some of the people I worked with I consider my best friends. And even though, like Pierre is in New Zealand, we still probably catch up at least every 3 weeks on a phone call and just check up on each other. Jaco's in the Netherlands. We still chat probably once a week. Group dynamics, it was hard, that I will say to you. That for me was one of the most difficult parts, because you have a full-time job and this is something you do on the side. Time management, but it teaches you how to be successful in the real world. I currently have a full-time job and a side hustle, and this certainly has taught me how to manage time also effectively.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Cordine. Brent, anything you want to add to that, or?
Yes, certainly. Thank you. Yeah, no, definitely in terms of having to infiltrate different groups at various times in your studies. I obviously joined from, because I started my MBA in East London, and then converted to the full-time program thereafter, and had to join one of the groups in Port Elizabeth. I had to obviously find a group, and I was accommodated accordingly. And then you have to go through the whole norming, storming, and forming stages of group dynamics and team dynamics, which was great, because as Claudine said, you develop those techniques, you learn how to apply those theories, and you apply that in a real world context, in a real world setting. And time management is of the utmost, where you obviously have to juggle 6 or 7 different individuals' work schedules, because we all are employed on a full-time basis, and the studying is your part-time hustle then. But also happy to say that the connections and the network that was built out of that, of those cohorts of the various groups, we're all still in touch. Just today it's Nombulelo's birthday, and we're all wishing Nombulelo, happy birthday, etc. And we're planning our next get together, obviously under COVID protocols, of course. But yeah, no, definitely group dynamics. You learn a lot, and you tend to realize that you're not alone. Everybody's got similar struggles, and the more you engage, the more you learn to not to rely on yourself to reach your end goal. And that very much is an entrepreneurial approach and mindset as well. Again, coming back to that holistic individual, a holistic leader, knowing that you need to rely on others to make your way forward in all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Claudine. I'm just checking the chat group. Yeah, Christopher Hafti has said that how has the group dynamics changed since we are in a pandemic? Are the groups meeting more online or face-to-face? I don't know if there was an answer to that yet, but the groups are obviously meeting online now. And at the whole of this year, and almost the whole of last year, ever since March last year, we converted to online. And all the lectures are done online, and obviously the group work is also then done. Teams and syndicate groups are expected to meet via Zoom or via Teams meetings, and it seems to be going well. I haven't really detected any, shall I say, drop in performance, so to speak. But so yes, I think people have adapted. So obviously there's a lot less face-to-face meetings, but the really strong groups, I think, still manage to find a way around and have a mask-to-mask meeting from time to time. But most of it is online. Christopher, is coming back to yours. There are questions relating in the chat group to where the East London campus is, etc. I'm going to leave that to our Caroline and them to answer those specifically. I see Caroline is responding to that. I'm just going to
Prof, sorry, if I could just come in to answer the question on the assignments and case studies. Again, we leverage on and emphasize the word application and applied learning. So the case studies is real world scenarios. It's actual cases of what's happened in industry, and it's ranging from everything from what happened at General Electric to Nespresso to famous brands. So it's real case studies, real world examples. That is, then you apply your own insight and your group's own insight in answering that. And it's a famous thing that we're known for as well. It's co-creating value and co-creating your learning experience. And through that, you find the benefits of how this program is offered, and that learning is then transferred throughout. And you'll find at the end of the process, a lot of this is it becomes intrinsically, like you wouldn't know, you wouldn't even recognize the previous version of yourself. So that is the natural progression and the natural growth which you are exposed to and you experience as part of this PDBA and MBA program.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks for picking up on the case studies in particular. They're there to challenge one's thinking, to promote the critical thinking skills, problem solving around it, and then of course dovetailing that with the syndicate group and the group dynamics that participate. So it's a very rich experience. It might seem like you're trying to solve a case study, but it's actually the interaction in the group. It's everything that contributes to actually getting to that final study that slowly but surely hones the skills and transfers into practice. All right, thanks for sharing those. I'm just going to soldier on a little bit. My screen seemed to be a little stuck at the moment, so let's see if we can get it alive again. Right, there we go. So moving just a little bit closer into the graduate school program format. So what does it look like? So obviously with a degree or diploma, you can enter into the PDBA and PDBA qualification, which is at an NQF level 8. And once you have that applicable, and I think that's the operative word here, is once you have an applicable NQF 8 qualification, you graduate into the MBA, or you qualify to go into the MBA. So what is an applicable NQF 8 qualification? So you could have an honors, for example, let's say in music. And if you've got an honors in music, that's not going to get you, it's an NQF qualification 8 maybe, that's not going to get you into an MBA. And the reason for that is that at the MBA level, we don't start from scratch. So in other words, when we talk about economics, we talk about management, accounting, financial management. Once we get into those subjects, we don't start right at the beginning. And that's the reason why we talk about an applicable NQF level 8. So bear that in mind. It's a very important requirement. Because if you haven't got those, then the MBAs, you're going to find that very tough going if you haven't been exposed to that discipline in your undergraduate studies. If you come from a discipline, even let's say NQF level 8 that you've completed, and you've got accounting, and you've got strategic planning, and you've got economics, then those are applicable qualifications that can take you straight directly into the MBA. All right, so that's basically the long and short of it. So into the MBA, and then that of course is a 2-year program. Year 1, most of the modules are covered, and then year 2, you do your research project, business research project, as well as electives, and of course you do leadership. I see that I've got a hand. Is it Osman Mjali? You're welcome.
Afternoon, sir. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. You're welcome to pose your comment or question.
Thank you. I couldn't hear you. You were kind of cutting by the part about the honors, because I'm currently doing my honors in labor relations. So I just wanted to, I didn't hear you clearly where you said you needed an honors in a certain discipline in order to get straight into the MBA.
All right, yeah. Yeah, again, most of this, and this is why we would like to look at each case on a case-by-case basis, on an individual basis, because it depends on your subject mix. So with an honors, you should be able to access an MBA, but I was explaining the word applicable. And if you're doing your honors in labor relations, then I would imagine that you probably did a BCom somewhere, or you did some business subjects, and that you've probably got some accounting, management accounting, or accounting somewhere along in your qualification, and or economics or business economics. If that's the case, then that would take you into, those are applicable subjects that I've just referred to now. The example I used prior to that is if you qualified in music, for example, or you're a physiotherapist and you haven't done any of the business subjects, but you are at an NQF level 8, it's not automatic to go into the MBA. So that's where the applicable subject matter comes in. Osman, is that clear?
Yes, it's very clear. It's very clear. Thank you.
Okay, right. Thanks for the question. So we're gonna go on to the next one. We're obviously going to elaborate on this. So the postgraduate diploma in business administration. So maybe just a quick history lesson here. Is that not so long ago the MBA was a 3-year course, and so what has in fact happened was that maybe some people started in their first year of the 3-year course when it was 3 years, and they would exit after 1 year for some other reason, whether it's finance, whether it's work pressure, and they would exit with nothing, no qualification. The Higher Education Council then decided that new requirements for an MBA is to split it, and then that the postgraduate diploma then comes in at an NQF level 8. And basically, I almost want to say the old first year of the 3-year MBA became the first year basically or became the postgraduate diploma in business administration. So that's basically historically how it was arranged. Now we have the postgraduate diploma. If you exit after that year, you walk away with a diploma, and if you qualify with a postgraduate diploma, you get access into the MBA. If we look at some of the minimum requirements, Zwelitemba, I'm going to be with you right now, directly after this. I noticed your hand. So 3-year degree or 4-year advanced diploma will get you there, access. And also then 3 years full-time working experience. You'll also notice there, stay within a 60-kilometer radius. The reason why we've got that in is because there's a lot of syndicate work, and we've got to put some kind of limit on how far people are expected to travel, because you might be required to meet during the week sometime to talk about assignments, talk about presentations, talk about your studies, etc. And we found that if people are just too far dispersed, that gets in the way and it starts creating problems. And perhaps some of those frustrations that Claudine was mentioning earlier on with group dynamics and coming into play. Zwelitemba, you're welcome to pose your question.
Oh, good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask regarding the MBA criteria.
Yes.
Currently doing my honors right now in business management at Nelson Mandela, but I've already finished my postgrad diploma in financial planning, which is an NQF level 8 qualification.
Yes.
Does that also qualify me to go straight into the MBA?
You will be finishing your honors this year?
Yes.
I would with your qualification in financial advisory or planning qualification, I would assume that there would be some commercial subjects in that. You would have done possibly financial management, probably even economics. So you would have that. So that goes to the example I gave earlier on about applicable. And when we get to the MBA, we will again go through the criteria. And again, you will see the word applicable. In your case, a business qualification that you're doing is an applicable qualification. Okay, so it's when it's not applicable is when somebody comes in from a pure, let's say, science perspective, purely science, no business, no accounting, no economics whatsoever. Then promotion into an MBA direct is very difficult. People find it extremely difficult, not being exposed to any of those disciplines early on. So the short answer to you, without having a look at your qualification specifically, yours is an applicable qualification because it's a business qualification. Okay, does that make sense?
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so you currently with us, eh? You with the NMU?
Yeah, started last year, just trying to get into the MBA. So I thought if I first do the postgraduate diploma in financial planning and then go into honors, I'll be able to just go into the MBA stream.
So are you a professional student? Have you got some business experience, working experience?
Yes, been working in corporate for about 10 years now.
Okay, no, then because the other thing is obviously working experience. So with 10 years corporate working experience, that covers it very nicely. Something else that I think both Brent and Claudine has alluded to is the communication, it's the debating, it's the learning from each other, also in the syndicate groups. And this is why we insist on working experience. The level of the conversation in that syndicate group is of much greater value if people come in with experience, as opposed to, and this, I'm not being funny or derogatory to anybody, but without any working experience, purely book knowledge, you don't have the same level of engagement, same level of interaction as when you've got a mature group of people who've been exposed to business, can talk about real life examples and real life experience. You bring that into the classroom, and I think that really causes great learning opportunities and also learning from each other. So thanks, Temba, thanks for introducing that. All right, just moving on a little bit, the PDBA, what does it look like? What do your trimesters look like? So this is something else that you need to get your head around, is that we work on a trimester basis. So basically we start around about the last week in January, first week in February, and from there we move on in the first trimester to around about the second week in May, where you then do your first round of evaluations or write exams towards the second week in May. And this is also something just to bear in mind, and this is where Claudine mentioned it's important that you do time management, and this is where it comes in. Unlike your normal academic year where you have a recess and you might have a 2-week breather where you can take a bit of a holiday, your PDBA and MBA, you don't have a breather. So you go from the one exam, the next week you start your next module, the next trimester starts, and the second trimester starts in the 3rd week of May, and it goes to about the 2nd, 3rd week in August. Then you're done, you write your exam there. The next week you start with your 3rd and final trimester around about the 2nd of November, and then you can have a breather. So this is why you heard Brent say that sometimes the MBA is referred to as the divorce course. And the reason for that is that the family has to be on board. So if you've got family, spouse, wife, kids, they have to be on board, that they're probably going to see a little bit less of you. And that it takes a bit of a commitment in terms of time until you've worked out your what works for you. When the group meets, you'll work out what is your happy medium, what works for you. Not everybody likes to work late at night. Some people are best early in the morning, or so you'll work out what that happy medium is for you and how you can balance both work, family life, and of course the added challenge of the MBA.
The only thing I will interject here, Brent, I'm so happy that it wasn't a divorce course for you. It was for me. And the one thing I will say there is that it was not because of time management skills. It was because of rapid personal growth, and nobody prepares you for that. So you must also keep that in mind, because you will be on an accelerated growth path, and maybe you will find that if you don't take them along the journey with you, there may be some added complications. I'm just saying.
Thanks, Claudine. I think Brent was clever in that sense that he took his wife with him on the journey. I think he was very clever in that. Thanks, Claudine. Thanks for sharing that.
Holistic, yes.
I still wonder about some of those assignments. Anyway, all right, let's go to the, okay, so with a PDBA, just what the trimesters look like. You'll notice there's an asterisk next to accounting for business. So the reason for that is that is not a credit-bearing subject, but it's specifically put in there for those people who haven't got the business or the accounting background. So it is a recommended subject for all of those who want to or wish to enter into it, and it prepares you for management accounting in the second trimester. So it's non-credit bearing, so it's for you to, and of course the lecturer who's in charge of that knows what is happening in management accounting in the second trimester, and then is a preparatory course to make life a bit easier, because again, management accounting, we don't start right at the outset, and debits are left and credits right. That sort of course, we already infer that there's already a certain level of knowledge there. So that is highly recommended for people. So the questions I've been having up to now about appropriate qualification. So those people who are not deemed to have appropriate qualifications, the business accounting, economics, accounting for business is one of those that we would highly recommend you do to prepare you for the management accounting course in the second trimester. So what you can also see from that is roughly 3 modules per trimester. So that equates to 3 sessions per week. Round about, as I said, 5:30 start to round about 8 o'clock, or maybe after 8, just after 8, usually not beyond 8:30. The modules will take you per week, and that's for 12 weeks in a row. So that's a trimester. And in the 13th week, you will write the exam or the end of module assessment on that particular module or unit. And then, yes, that also is repeated in the third trimester. Again, 3 with entrepreneurship, strategy, and management economics then covered in the third trimester. So it just gives you a bit of a sense as to how many nights you will be involved in. And that obviously is just the formal side of it. You might have to also take up more time in order to do preparation, in order to meet with the syndicate group, compile assignments and so forth, and even presentations that might be required from time to time in class. What you will also find is, for those of you who have to enter on the PDBA, that you'll get some credits for some subjects. The credit subjects contributing or giving credit to the MBA is the human resource strategy one, it's the management accounting one, and then management economics. Those are the 3 subjects that you will get credit for going or promoting into the MBA if you kick on from the PDBA. So it makes your life a little bit easier and in the first year of the MBA, where others will have 3 nights per week, you will only have 2 nights per week lectures in some instances, in some of the trimesters in your MBA here. So we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves for those of you entering on the PDBA side, but it just means that you've already kicked on and you already have some of the modules required for the MBA. Just looking at the cost structure, this cost structure is not finalized, so please don't hold me to these numbers. This is the cost structure for 2021, and it provides also the SHL test, which is everybody gets tested for accessing both the PDBA and the MBA. There's an enrollment fee. The SHL test, maybe just coming back to that fee, that doesn't come to us, the university. We have an external vendor that does that, so that goes to them. And then the module fees, eight of the core modules with the estimates there, and then also we've looked at estimates for the textbooks, and then given you a final number as far as the PDBA cost structure goes. You'll also notice that I alluded to some flexible payment opportunities, and that that is outlined for you on the right-hand side of the transparency that we have here, or the slide that we have here. People, I'm just a little bit conscious of our time. I know that I think we've scheduled about an hour, and this is an old problem of mine. We tend to go on a little bit longer, but I'm going to just soldier on a little bit. But that does not mean that you needn't ask any questions, so please do. So I alluded to the fact that when we look to our ratings and grading as far as the programs are concerned, we've just given you a slight comparison here with some of the other institutions presenting this. And you'll notice that some of the institutions that featured fairly low down on their rankings are now starting to overtake us. And I think that's even more the case when we get to the rates as far as the MBA is concerned. So I'm just going to soldier on a little bit and move to the PDBA, talk a little bit about the part-time studies in Port Elizabeth. I've already said to you that it's 3 evening classes per week. So that's what you would be in for. That's just the formal side. What we refer to as block release is for everybody outside of Port Elizabeth. So what we normally do, and now this is under normal circumstances, okay? Currently, we are doing, everybody gets the same. You get 3 sessions per week, all online, direct online with the lecturers, and obviously opportunities to interact with the lecturers as well. But under normal circumstances, it would mean that there are 3 study visits. So in other words, we would ask you to come to Port Elizabeth to meet with us, and for a week long at each of the 3 study visits at the start of each trimester, we would interact with you, and we do a lot of loading. So in other words, a lot of lectures, full day lectures for a week that we would ask you to come and do. And then after that week of the study visit, we will then see you every 2 weeks, where we then do video conferencing with you. And that's usually on a Saturday morning or on a weekend where we'll do the video conferencing. You obviously also still have access to the recorded sessions that we have with our, call it Port Elizabeth group, which we will do face-to-face, and that will be recorded in our lecture venues. All right, that's just as far as the methodology goes, the distinction here between the Port Elizabeth group and the block release group. Moving on to the MBA. So those of you who want to promote straight into or access the MBA, here again, we're looking for a minimum of a level 8, NQF level 8 qualification. And again, the operative word, as I said earlier, is applicable. So in other words, those who have qualifications in any business related, you've done economics, you've done accounting, will have direct access. For those of you coming from another angle, whether it's medicine, whether it's physiotherapy, whether it's music, whether it's arts, with no business qualification, political science qualification, you would have to go into the PDBA and won't get direct access into the MBA. So again, for a minimum of 3 years managerial or 5 years business working experience is what's required in order to bolster the discussion in the group. Everybody does a test, psychometric test. The SHL test at a level 5 is what we require. There are 3 areas that we test. It's numeracy, it's language, and it's inductive reasoning. Those are the 3 things that are tested there. And of each of those, we would prefer you to have a 5 to give you an overall score of a 15 for each of those categories. I see, Viwe, you've got a question. I acknowledge you. You're welcome.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
So if you've got a BCom accounting degree, can you get straight into the MBA?
BCom accounting degree
Yes.
is probably at an NQF level 7, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just the degree. You've got no postgraduate qualification, a postgraduate diploma, and or an honors that would take you straight in. So it's about qualification level that we also need to have a look at.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right, that's the NQF viewer that gets in the way there. So it's the NQF levels that would prevent you from, you've got the right qualification, but not at the level there. So it's the level of honors that would take you straight in.
Okay, no
So
problem.
you would get access, no doubt, on that qualification into the PDBA.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Kassan, I see, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Kassan or Kassan, I acknowledge you.
Kassan. Thank
Yes,
you,
Kassan.
Prof. I just have a quick question. I see that you've mentioned part of the psychometric testing. So
Yes.
at this point of the year, we've made some application. I'm not sure is that going to come into the way of the whole process and all the phases, because I haven't received any responses, or more or less when can we look into that?
You've applied to us, have you?
Yes, already.
Okay. Kassan, that will probably take place in the not too distant future. There's also an interview process that we have, but that usually follows the psychometric testing. So I think we're gearing up at the moment. I'm not sure if Carleen, are you still in the room? Can you maybe cast some...
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Prof. POISAT. Kassan, you'll have to email us because I don't recall seeing your name yet, but obviously you may have spoken to Charlene, because we would acknowledge receiving an application, or we would have sent an email to say something was outstanding, or we're going to review, and then we will send responses. And then once we have a big enough batch of individuals that will need to partake in psychometric testing, we will then send the link, because the testing is also done online. And then you are given a certain amount of days to complete the test in, and then after that there'll be interviews scheduled. So it all happens in little boxes. So you need to just email us to follow up to say where is your application. But all of the applications that are complete will receive feedback before we conclude the year at the end of November, beginning December.
Okay, thank you very much. That answers that. I did speak to Charlene, yes, and everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kassan. You've raised an important issue there. Thank you. Thanks, Carleen. And okay, just soldiering on. I think we've covered the qualifications there or requirements. So what does the MBA curriculum look like? Those are some of the modules that you'll be covering. You'll notice there's some asterisks next to people management. Accounting for business, again, is the same issue as with the PDBA. So if you haven't got the accounting acumen at this point in time or exposure to it, then we would recommend strongly that you do accounting for business to give you access. Or if you're a bit rusty, you've dealt with it many years ago, and you just want to gen up on some of the principles and surrounding it, then you're welcome to do accounting for business, non-credit bearing. The reason why people management and management accounting and management economics have asterisks here is those are the credit bearing ones that you would have gained if you had promoted from the PDBA into the MBA. So you won't be doing those again on the MBA. You'll get credit for that if you've done our PDBA and you've promoted into the MBA. You'll notice that leadership 1 and 2, both those modules are year modules, and you'll see that they are treated slightly differently, and they're not on a semester basis, so they run for the entire year 1. You'll do some leadership stuff in trimester 1, 2, and 3 of year 1, and you'll do leadership stuff in trimester 1 and 2 with a final assessment in the 3rd trimester of the 2nd year. All right, soldiering on, you'll also have the opportunity to choose 2 electives. Those are the electives that are currently running, and you can choose 2 of those that interest you or you would like further development in. And then, of course, part of the 2nd year is also to do your business research project, project of your choice, and you'll be able to select that. And obviously we take you through the research process to then qualify you also in research skills, and that also carries a weight of, I think, around about 30% towards your MBA qualification. So the MBA module structure, what does that look like? So what are you in for in trimester 1, 2, and 3 of year 1 of the MBA? Again, there you'll notice leadership 1 and has 2 asterisks, and that means that it runs in all the trimesters of year 1. It's a year subject. And you'll also notice accounting for business with an asterisk, which means that that is a selection for you to make. It's not credit bearing. So anybody feeling comfortable with their accounting skills does not need to do that, because management accounting is waiting for you in trimester 2. I don't think there's anything more that I need to say around that one. So that's what effectively you have 3 nights per week. In most of these, you'll find that leadership is also presented not per week, but you'll find that there are many block sessions that you'll find surrounding the leadership presentations, so that you would have to attend. Carlina, I notice your hands up. You're welcome to comment.
Thank you so much, Prof. POISAT. I just wanted to quickly comment, because I'm answering the chat questions as quickly as I can. But I thought, let me just quickly, if I can interject, just make a blanket statement that if you say you've applied and you need an answer on your application, please just email either Charlene or myself or BS Applications to get a response then from us, because students need to note that they upload or apply on the online system for the university. So we then get the applications from the online system, and sometimes things do go missing. So that's why we always state, and it is on our website as well, that students need to confirm with us if we've received an application and so forth. So I'm not going to reply to those questions. So if individuals can then just email either Charlene or myself or BS Applications to get a response on their application, please.
Okay. Right, thanks, Colleen. Yeah, that's just to make sure that that the application has gone to the right people, and that you're not drifting somewhere in the rest of the university, and then we can pick up on those. Your key aspects that that you will be covering in year 2. My internet is just becoming a little bit unstable as we speak. Right, seems to be okay again. Moving on then, just as far as the leadership development is concerned, year 1, again, just without going into any detail here, we look at the leadership theories. So what are the different theories that might impact you? What resonates with you? A lot of self-assessment. It's about the self, understanding the self, and then manager as coach. So those are the 3 key or big ingredients that we look at in leadership development in year 1. So the philosophy here is you can't lead others if you don't understand yourself. The better you understand yourself, the better you're able to lead others. In year 2, we change slightly, and we look at the business perspective, we look at the organization and the impact on leadership, and we look at the community. So we're looking at it at some wider issues. It includes conscious business. It also includes African leadership, a strong component that we build into it. And then we've moved away from ecological leadership, and we're looking at values-based leadership. That we've replaced with. And then another very important aspect is the personalized leadership brand. We want you to lead with your own brand. Are you the Rolls Royce? Are you the Ferrari? Are you the Maserati of who you can be? So you develop your own brand, because you present, you project, you influence, and you are your best brand. And are you displaying your best brand of what you can be in terms of leadership? And that's what we after. So it all culminates in your becoming your and living your brand. All right. So that just in a nutshell. So the MBA study options, like with the PDBA, the two options, the one that we do face-to-face in Port Elizabeth under normal circumstances, and the block release under normal circumstances, whether you're in Gauteng, Durban, East London, Cape Town, you do it from the comfort of those areas that you live in. And it means 3 study visits per year at the start of each trimester, and it also for a week, where we do a lot of loading, theoretical loading. We cover a lot of theory in those sections. It also gives you an opportunity to mix and discuss with the various people from the various centers. And then after that, we follow that up with video conferencing every 2 weeks, where we have contact with the cohorts throughout the rest of South Africa. Maybe also just to make sure, as far as the format is concerned, just to reiterate, I spoke about the time, the evening classes, tests and exams. Maybe just to note here that tests are written over weekends, and exams are written in Port Elizabeth in the week. Okay, so just take note of that. The group sessions. So everybody, I think Brent and Cordina has alluded to the various groups and their experiences in those groups. That's the syndicate groups that we spoke about earlier on. And then also the electives. Also just note that the electives are also offered on a block basis. So you would have to visit Port Elizabeth to attend that elective for 4 days. So, so just take note of that. So yeah, the block release format. So these are all the out-of-towners. So these are people in our centers in Cape Town, East London, Durban, and Gauteng. The 1 study week I spoke about. So 3 study visits per year. The video conferencing that is followed the study visits for the remainder of that trimester. And tests and exams are written in the relevant centers. So in those areas outside of Port Elizabeth, we'll have centers. So you'll still write it in your home base, whether it's in East London or Cape Town or Gauteng, Durban. And so the video conference can be arranged, or group sessions can be arranged after the video conferencing for group members to meet. There's another opportunity to meet. And then also the international electives are the full day sessions where we will ask you to come visit us again in Port Elizabeth. So this is normally where we get an industry expert or an expert in that particular area in share the knowledge and competencies within that elective over that 4 to 5 day full day period, full days. So just bear that in mind as far as commitments are concerned, leave requirements are concerned. As we've mentioned earlier on, COVID-19, we're almost done. COVID-19, we've gone online. All our lectures are done online. Communications are done online. We also have an information site called Inoko that we use, where we post a lot of our lectures, where we post a lot of communications, and also students can post assignments there. So everything has gone on to Zoom. We have Zoom sessions where we present our lectures once a week, just like you would have attended Port Elizabeth sessions face to face. We now have interaction online on a weekly basis, sharing PowerPoints, sharing discussions. We have breakout rooms, we have discussion groups during those lecture times, and so forth. Also, all tests, exams are also written online. So that is the current status. For all we know, and as far as our planning is concerned, the first trimester, at least at this point in time, is what it seems like, will also be done online, the first trimester next year. And certainly that's our planning at this stage. If there are any announcements, if the 4th wave doesn't hit for some other reason, then things might change, but it's not anticipated that it will change before at least the end of the first trimester next year. So our planning is to be online next year as well, as probably most of the tertiary institutions are planning. Just as far as the numbers are concerned, as far as the costs are concerned, SHL test, as we mentioned earlier on, registration fee, Year 1 and year 2 is broken down. So that's the total cost that you see there. And again, this is a reflection of the 2021 fees. So just take note of that. And that there might be a slight increase on that for 2022. We're not sure yet. That should be done. Fees will probably be finalized by the end of November. So we'll be able to have a better idea of that. And then just have a look at this diagram. I mentioned to you cost versus ranking, and you can see the Nelson Mandela University Business School has fallen to the bottom of this table, whereas with the ranking, it was an inverse situation, and Nelson Mandela featured higher up in the top 6 of that ranking. Right, people, I think that's brought us to the end of our presentation. I'm going to maybe at this point in time just ask Caroline maybe to come in. Dr. Jooste, if you would like to come in and maybe just affirm or confirm the times and dates. Before you do so, again, a very big thank you to our alumni, Brent and Claudine. Thank you very much for your valuable insights in your experiences, and maybe just also ask if there's any last comments from your side. You're welcome to share your comments or insights. Any last comments, and then I'm going to ask Caroline just to talk to these here.
I can just tell you, I'm a qualified veterinary nurse, and I'm now VP of Education for iExperience, and I lectured to students from Harvard and Yale and UCLA and everywhere across the world. And it was a bit of a journey. I also have a marketing firm on the side. And what happened between being a veterinary nurse and today is an MBA. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn, but it really has changed everything for me and opened up a world of opportunities.
Claudine, thanks very much. Thanks for sharing that, and really appreciate you making the time this evening to share your insights and your story with us. Thank you.
Then thanks just from my side. I think this echoes, you could see that natural progression and growth and evolution, which this MBA journey, PDBA and MBA journey has impacted, and how it has impacted Claudine. There are many versions of you, and just as with evolution, it is natural that we are expected to evolve as a person and as a leader. And as a leader, we are forced to evolve and adapt as we come across many different circumstances and situations. And that's some insights that I have reflected on, which my journey as I've embarked on at NMMU. Or Mandela University Business School. And I just want to say thank you for providing me the opportunity to share some of my insights. Thank you very much, Claudine. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Caroline. Thanks, Sasha. And I wish all prospective students good luck on their applications, and good luck as you embark on your own growth and leadership journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks for those insights, and thanks for sharing and making time this evening. Thanks again, Claudine. Thank you, Sasha, too, for your participation. Can I maybe ask Dr. Jooste, is there perhaps something from your side you want to touch on? Maybe some of the important dates or anything from your side? You're welcome to comment.
Thank you so much, Prof. POISAT. Yes, just as all of you that's still here would see on the screen, the deadlines for applications. And we've also got a late application date, but that is only so that we can make sure that all of the applications that we've received that are incomplete are handled. So we do have a date until the 24th, but that is 24th of November, but that is only so that we can clear all of the applications that may be incomplete, that we are following up on to say, well, we're going to close now. We don't have all of your documents. What do you want to do with your application? So those are the dates, and you'll also see our contact details on the screen. So you're welcome to contact either myself or Charlene with regards to your application, and also any questions that you may have with regards to psychometric testing or interviews. As I said previously, please do note that Once you've applied and we've moved you onto the second phase, we will send you a email with your psychometric testing details. And then after that, we will have specific dates where individuals will be interviewed. So it normally takes about a month and a half for this whole process to conclude if we've received a complete application. So please do keep that in mind. And then just from my side, thank you so much to Prof. POISAT for also presenting tonight, and also for Cordine and Brent and Sasha as well.
Thank you, Caroline. Can I maybe just hear any last comments? Any last comments from anybody in the forum at this point in time? Apelele, I see you unmuted.
Hi guys, good evening. It's AP Apelele.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, now I just wanted to say thank you for organizing the session. It was indeed an eye-opening for us because some of us thought if you got an accounting, maybe become accounting, you can shoot straight to the MBA. But now we're in the course, so thanks a lot. I did have a question. I think someone has answered about bursaries and scholarships. Okay. I think there is. There is another.
Apelele, you broke up a little bit there on my machine, on my computer towards the end. I assume that either Sasha or Caroline has answered you. I see that you had a question in the chat box as well. Are you happy with the answer you received? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm happy, Prof. I'm happy.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for joining us, Lele. Right. I see Yannick, your hands up. You're welcome to comment.
Thank you, Prof. POISAT, for the opportunity. I think I interacted a little bit with Caroline regarding the assignment, and I was just wondering if the school will consider moving assignments to be entirely work-based for the student, as I've seen that it provides an opportunity for one to interact with the different stakeholders in our respective business, provide us with a lot of visibility, but also really anchor our learning into our context, seeing that it's a master's of business administration. And of course, the benefit of transferability will appear later, rather than them perhaps being based on organizations at the outside, because when we are sponsored by corporate, sometimes they really want to see the value immediately. So I don't know whether the school will consider that moving forward.
Yeah, Yannick, if you're referring to the business, your business project, one of the things I encourage the people I supervise when they select a topic for their research is that they select a topic that is going to be beneficial to them in their careers, possibly at their own organization or corporate, as you mentioned, and something that is not only going to make sure that they get the qualification of an MBA, but at the same time can kick on or have value for them inside their own organizations as well. And we've seen some wonderful examples of that. I can keep you going for another hour very easily. Just very shortly, one of the most, I think, important ones was somebody who not even, who did an assignment, and it was somebody who did an assignment in HR for me. And I went to visit him in Cape Town, and he said to me, you know what, I've been working with this company for 13 years, and they've never really senior management has never really acknowledged me. Now that I'm doing an assignment in talent management, they want to know what's in the assignment. He did a presentation to the board of directors. Cut a long story short, before he finished his MBA, 2 years later, he was actually promoted after a 13-year period where he was basically ignored. And he's now one of the directors of the company. So that is what the MBA is designed to do. And that is what the MBA can do. there are many more examples like that I can share, but for the sake of timing, I'm gonna hold back on it. But thanks for that comment. I hope it answers your question.
Yes, it does to an extent, Prof. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Kanyisa had her name up, and then I see Kassan has got his name up again. Kanyisa?
Hi, Prof. I hope
Hello.
you guys can hear. Hi, I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes,
I just wanted to know the sizes of the classes, around about how many people you usually have in the postgraduate diploma and in the MBA program.
Okay, so number of people. Yeah, Carlene's probably in a better position to give you exact number. It varies from year to year. It can be, we talk about the PE group. The PE group is usually around about 50, 60, can be slightly more, and probably closer to 70 sometimes. And then you've got the block release. So that could also be a group of about, depending on from year to year, in total of about another 50 to 60 people on block release. So somewhere within that vicinity is what you're looking at. So what happens is that you work in syndicate groups. So you'll be allocated your syndicate group with normally about 5, not more than 6 people within that syndicate group, and you will work as a unit on your case studies, preparation of lectures, whatever the case might be. Is that okay, Kanyisa? Does it give you some kind of indication?
Yes, thank you. And then the other question I wanted to ask, although I'm assuming, so I applied for both the the postgraduate and the MBA, but I think I got a reply for the MBA. So I just wanted to assume that if I get a reply for the MBA, that means maybe my qualification is one of the applicable qualifications. So I have an honors in quantity surveying, and the undergrad and the honors have some business modules. So I just wanted to find out if that is also one of the applicable qualifications.
Yeah, Kanyisa, that's why Carlene and them, and when we review the applications, we do that on an individual basis, because sometimes the subject mix might differ. So we will have a look, and as I said earlier, it's a key requirement that we have appropriate subjects. So if you've done business subjects along the way, that will count in your favor, and that will make it an applicable qualification then.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Prof.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Kanyisa. Kassin, I think you next.
Yes, thank you, Prof. I thought I should share my screen so that you can see faces.
Excellent. Are you where are you? In Port Elizabeth? You from outside?
Port Elizabeth, Summerstrand, yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm working for the institution as well. So it's really, firstly, just before I forget, I would like to thank everyone for making this possible so we can get more insight on the programs. So I'm someone who was always fascinated about the program, even before I even started studying at university.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, just to also answer, I think Apelele's question, Kanyisa, sorry. Yeah, quantity surveying has those modules, financial, business finance, and a lot of commercial modules. So I think it stands a good chance. So all the best on that part. The main question I wanted to ask was to the idea of someone who, let's take for instance, I'm currently in Port Elizabeth right now, and I moved to East London. Is it possible to change the group to the East London one in a nation like that, be it for employment purposes or whatever the case may be?
Kassin, yeah, it has been done. It has been done, but the opposite has also happened. What happens is very often people get comfortable within their group. And even we've had situations where people have gone down to Cape Town and they actually prefer to then rather just work online, with their group back at PE, because they get comfortable, they know each other. As Brent has also alluded to, you go through a forming, storming, norming in your group development. And sometimes you don't want to go through that again, with a new group,
correct.
And you get comfortable. But it depends on the person. And we've had people, it's gone either way. We've had people that have switched, and we've had people that have stuck with their group, even though they've transferred elsewhere. And it's worked either way, you know. Yeah.
Okay, and last one, in respect to someone who did like the PDBA, does then that affect now the duration? Are those modules that are accredited in the same trimester, or they spread out throughout the trimesters?
So the accredited ones in your MBA. So when you're doing your MBA, some of them are first trimester and some of them are second trimester. I might be, yes, I think you will find that there will be one trimester that's very light, where we almost only have one subject. For some people it works out that way, depending on how many credits they get. And then but generally you have a much lighter load, obviously, with those credits that you have. So you will have maybe in the first trimester 2, and you might have 1 module in the second, and then 3 in the third trimester, depending on just how many credits you've got. Yeah,
you've got. All right. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. That's all from me.
But let's put it this way. What can then happen is it gives you an opportunity in that light trimester where it's very light. You only have 1 module. You can then start working on your research project, and we encourage people to do that.
For that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Balance out the load. Oh, okay.
That's it. Correct. Yeah.
No, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kasin. Thanks for joining us. Right, people, I don't see any more hands. I think we've gone way beyond what we said we would be doing. So I hope you've enjoyed the session. I hope you found it informative, and thank you very much to everybody that's joined us this evening. Thanks again to our guest artists, Brent and Claudine, also Sasha, and also a very big thank you to Colleen, Dr. Colleen Jooste, who set this up for us, and Charlene. Thank you so much for all your support with this as well. Thank you, everybody, and I wish you a good night. And please email us if there are any comments or questions that you have about not only this evening but about further application process. Thank you so much, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Bye-bye, everybody.